In the heart of a densely built suburban hillside, a house quietly redefines the relationship between structure, light, and landscape. The Serenity concrete house is more than a place to live. It is an architectural response to proximity, privacy, and environmental resilience. Positioned along a linear site, the house stretches inward from the road, offering a sanctuary that unfolds layer by layer. From the outside, the home appears as a monolithic concrete form. But behind the facade, a dynamic sequence of spaces emerges, opening, hiding, filtering, and breathing. This home does not merely exist in its environment, it performs with it, forming a bridge between structure and season. Upon approach, visitors are greeted not by a grand entrance, but by a metal veil, an architectural screen composed of oxidized steel and perforated mesh. This western facade doesn't shout, it whispers an invitation. Behind it lies a threshold that mediates street noise, privacy, and solar exposure. Unlike traditional suburban homes that prioritize exposure and symmetry, this house prioritizes experience and movement. The screen filters sunlight, invites vines to creep over it with the seasons, and creates an evolving dialogue between permanence and growth. It sets the tone for a residence that believes in gradients, not absolutes, where walls are never just walls, but instruments of shade, privacy, and transformation. The true genius of the Serenity concrete house lies in its spatial permeability. Rather than enclosing its rooms, the home employs a series of interstitial zones, narrow courtyards, shaded patios, and timber-screened breezeways that blur the boundaries of inside and out. These transitional spaces aren't mere buffers, they are places to live, think, and feel the passing of time. Each one is carefully oriented to harness natural ventilation and frame intentional views. You may sit in the dining room and feel a breeze drift through, or walk from the kitchen and into a sun-dappled terrace without ever opening a traditional door. The architecture doesn't divide, it flows. Built almost entirely from exposed board-formed concrete, the house carries with it the texture of its own making. The grain of timber used in the formwork leaves behind a subtle imprint, marking time, craft, and the memory of touch. This raw concrete is not cold, it is tactile and alive, constantly shifting in tone with the movement of light. Paired with warm timber panels, kinetic metal screens, and muted stone, the material palette speaks a grounded language. It feels anchored and timeless. Every surface is intentional. Nothing shouts, and yet Everything resonates with the quiet dignity of craftsmanship and clarity. Rather than resisting nature, the Serenity concrete house adapts to it. The home is calibrated to respond to seasonal changes with architectural intelligence. Deep cantilevers shade the glass-lined southern facade during hot summers, while allowing low winter sun to penetrate in colder months. Operable mesh and timber screens allow residents to adjust light, breeze, and views throughout the day. Courtyards, green pockets, and open-air rooms act as microclimates, each supporting a different time of day and season of use. Architecture here is not fixed. It is kinetic, performative, and deeply responsive. This house lives as its residents do, seasonally, with rhythm and grace. Landscape is not an afterthought in this design. It is part of the architecture. A network of gardens surrounds and penetrates the home, each curated to respond to light, climate, and mood. There is a contemplative herb garden to the north, lush ferns surrounding a sunken courtyard in the east, and a planted ramp that descends to the basement garage. Each space encourages movement and surprise. Outdoor rooms offer shade, scent, and sound. You might pass from a sunlit hallway into a garden path lined with aromatic rosemary, or descend from the living area into a cool green retreat. The house is never still, it grows. At the heart of the home is a luminous, south-facing volume, the main living space. This is the social soul of the house, flanked by generous floor-to-ceiling glazing and a floating concrete overhang that controls light and shade. In summer, the cantilever casts wide shadows. In winter, it welcomes warmth. Cross-ventilation is achieved by aligning openings in opposite walls, pulling in breezes from all directions. As the day progresses, light shifts across the raw concrete and timber, painting the interior with soft gradients. In this house, natural light is not just a utility, It is a poetic presence that animates space. Despite its location amid neighboring properties, the Serenity concrete house offers an exceptional sense of privacy, achieved not through isolation, but through layered spatial design. The private areas, such as bedrooms and bathrooms, are strategically placed behind buffer zones, like narrow gardens, transitional patios, or textured concrete walls. This layered approach ensures that every space feels protected without being disconnected. Operable timber slats and mesh panels offer flexible control, allowing residents to regulate visibility and airflow while still enjoying filtered natural light. Even the bathrooms are carefully designed with clear-story windows and enclosed green pockets, bringing in daylight without compromising seclusion. Here, privacy is not imposed by shutting the world out. It is gracefully orchestrated through openness, material sensitivity, and thoughtful transitions. From its reinforced concrete skeleton to its exposed finishes, the home celebrates structural honesty. There are no false facades, no decorative cladding to mask the truth of construction. The concrete is the finish. The formwork is the texture. Beams and slabs are not hidden, but embraced as part of the aesthetic. This approach demands precision, from the mix of the concrete to the curing conditions and the placement of every joint. It is a design that reflects confidence, both in engineering and in philosophy. It's a house that says, "This is how I'm made, and I'm proud of it." While aesthetically minimalist, the home is technologically sophisticated. Passive strategies, such as cross-ventilation, thermal massing, shading, and daylight optimization, reduce dependence on mechanical systems. A high-performance thermal envelope ensures temperature stability, while solar panels and rainwater harvesting systems support sustainability. Radiant floor heating warms the house in winter, and evaporative cooling from planted areas provides comfort in summer. Every decision is deliberate, aimed at reducing energy consumption while enhancing livability. The Serenity concrete house proves that sustainability doesn't need to compromise elegance or comfort. In fact, they can be one and the same when architecture truly listens to nature. The Serenity concrete house is not loud, flashy, or ostentatious. It is powerful in its restraint and poetic in its performance. Inspired by the logic of climate, the honesty of materials, and the desire for spatial freedom, the home offers a living experience that is both grounded and transcendent. It respects context without surrendering to it, and it allows its residents to live in harmony with the rhythms of sun, wind, and time. This is architecture not a status, but a sanctuary. At Openness, we celebrate homes like these, not just for how they look, but for how they live.